Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another episode of Destiny Index. Only today we are doing something a little bit different. Instead of focusing on one particular character, this episode is going to focus on Destiny 2, what we know of the story so far, any supporting Grimoire that may well help explain what is going on right now, and what challenges may lie ahead of us. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Any questions, drop them down below. And if you have any ideas you would like to add, by all means drop them in the comments as well. But let's get started. Now yes, I appreciate that at this stage, very little is known about Destiny 2's story. We have a brief trailer that sets up the somewhat ominous start of our new adventure. Commander of the Cabal Red Legion, Ghoul mounts an attack on the last city, destroying the place we once called home, leaving us with little option but to flee and regroup. According to the official synopsis, Guardians are running out of power, so in order to have any hope of taking on the Red Legion, we will have to embark on a quest to uncharted territories around the solar system, gathering the surviving heroes from the city, learning new abilities along the way, and ultimately assembling a force capable of fighting back. That much we know to be true right now. Of course, any more information pertaining to the Destiny 2 story and how it will pan out will need to be pieced together like a puzzle over the course of this year. However, in order to truly understand the predicament we are currently in, we need to understand our enemy. Why now? What motivated the Cabal to launch this assault on us? And most importantly, what makes us so weak? Why are we forced to flee like cowards instead of fighting back like we have always done? Well, in order to answer that, it's time for a bit of a Cabal history lesson. The Cabal first arrived in the solar system at some point following the collapse. Now the collapse, very quickly, for those of you unfamiliar with it, is an historic event that nearly brought about the extinction of our species. I won't go into the finer details, but long story short, the Golden Age was a prosperous time full of technological advancement, planetary colonization, etc. Then the darkness attacked humanity and forced us back to our homeworld, and the only reason we survived was thanks to the Traveller. Now returning to the Cabal, following the collapse, they didn't encounter any meaningful opposition when entering the solar system, so they set up a beachhead on Phobos. They constructed massive facilities, then launched a ground invasion and occupied Mars, which is of course where you predominantly find them. Now, to provide a little bit of insight into Cabal war mentality, when a Cabal army goes to war, they are exiled from the Empire, and they are only permitted to return once they have successfully completed their task. A bit harsh? Perhaps, but a great motivator nonetheless. A surefire way to drive troops to do whatever it takes so that they may one day return home. However, some of the Cabal on Mars began to show signs of exhaustion following endless assault from both the Vex and the Guardians. This resulted in a divide among the ranks, some Cabal still loyal to the Empire, others a little bit less so. This ultimately resulted in mutiny from one unit, the Broken Legion. Led by Valastrarug, they attacked the Reef without authorization. This resulted in their capture by the Awoken. However, given their treason, Cabal High Command disavowed the entire Legion and left them to rot in the Prison of Elders. Fast forward to a little bit before the Taken War, the Vanguard then speculated that a second fleet led by the Skyburners was being assembled on Phobos with the intention of invading Earth. However, something they hadn't anticipated was the arrival of Oryx and his Taken army. The Cabal were then forced to evacuate the fleet base and other sites due to the Taken assault. Within hours of this happening, various Cabal groups began losing troops by the bucket load. Sand Eaters, Blind Legion, and the Dust Giants all took a severe hit to their numbers. By the time the Guardians arrived, it was believed that well over half the entire Cabal army was wiped out. Now with Oryx in the picture, the Skyburners were forced to redeploy in order to reinforce, so they had very little option but to put their assault on Earth on hold. Primus Taun, commander of the Skyburners, then sent a report to Cabal High Command suggesting that the hive technology aboard the Dreadnought could be of great use to them. More specifically, it could be used against the Guardians. Taun was then given the go-ahead to board and capture Oryx's vessel by any means necessary. Following the Battle of Saturn, he rammed his warship into the Dreadnought and began leading a squad deep inside. Of course, if you guys played the Taken King, you will know this, but it was in the mausoleum that Taun was then taken by Oryx and transformed into Taun, Hand of Oryx. His Bond brothers, aka the Shield brothers, then ventured into the Dreadnought's power core to plant explosives. Were they successful in detonating them, the blast would have taken out half of the solar system. But if you've played the Taken King, then you'll know that thanks to us, the Guardians, that never happened. So yet again, another reason for the Cabal to hate us. Now, with their leaders gone, the surviving Cabal began transmitting an emergency request for help to the rest of the Empire. The Guardians disabled the signal, but likely not before it reached its intended destination. Following Oryx's defeat, a New Monarchy agent sent a report to his superior noting that given the immense loss of Cabal leadership, namely the Skyburners Primus, his Bond brothers, Primus Shaul, Valas Tark and Thrug, as well as a large number of Vals and Brachus, New Monarchy believed it wouldn't be long before the Cabal Empire was forced to respond to the Guardians' attack. Also, quick side note on Cabal leadership, since I threw out a few different terms in that list just there, the hierarchy goes a little something like this. Brachus is the most common, low-ranking Cabal, shortly followed by Val, then Valus, and finally Primus. So Ghoul from the Destiny 2 trailer is probably a Primus, although not confirmed at this point. So, as you can begin to see, the constant setbacks for the Cabal and their various run-ins with the Guardians leaves them little choice but to attack us in full force. Which of course brings us to the events depicted in the trailer. However, there's a little bit more to talk about behind the scenes. I mean, the fact that we're losing power, forced to flee, what exactly have the Cabal done to cause this to happen? Well, obviously we won't know for sure until the story unfolds, but based on a few more Grimoire entries, it's evident that the Cabal are intent on putting a stop to the Guardian's self-resurrection capabilities. The Scions reported a study that the source of our resurrection comes from our ghosts, typically hidden in combat, thus not a viable target. This would of course explain the Cabal's fascination with both Hive and Vex technology, both of whom possess means to negate Guardian resurrection. Furthermore, Rasputin facilities possess the necessary orbital firepower to assist in Cabal efforts, which could tie quite nicely into upcoming DLCs. I mean, thus far, Destiny has always had some sort of closure to a certain extent on a per expansion basis. But what if the Rasputin symbol on the DLC expansion hints at a much larger story? The events of Destiny 2 may not come to a conventional close at the end of the story, may well be something that plays out over the course of expansions too. But of course, that bit is just a little bit of speculation. For the time being, this is all we know. The Cabal, after multiple setbacks, have finally mounted their attack on the last safe city. They have clearly worked out a means to suppress our abilities, and thus we are left little choice but to flee, regroup, and work to regain our power. However, with the Traveller in a less than desirable state, how exactly can we hope to achieve this? Well, that might just be where a character known as Hawthorne comes in. Forgive me for a second because this bit is speculation, but based on the information from the Collector's Edition, the bag belongs to a character known as Hawthorne. Born in the city, Hawthorne left as a teen to seek a life of freedom in the wilderness outside the safety of our walls. She survived for years outside the Guardian's protection and has come to learn her true purpose, to provide shelter to humanity by helping them not only survive, but lead a better way of life. What if this Hawthorne character has learned to survive without the aid of the Traveller and the typical Guardian powers we've become accustomed to? Perhaps there is another way for us to draw power. Maybe that's what the blurb means when it says we will discover new abilities. Looking at this bag alone, it is clear to see, whoever this Hawthorne character is, they have clearly got some tales to tell. A collection of items and trinkets, no doubt from her various discoveries and encounters throughout the years. What sort of knowledge does she possess? How has she managed to survive this long outside the tower walls? And if we're really going to start asking questions, could this Hawthorne character be the mysterious stranger? Okay, I appreciate at this stage there is absolutely no basis to make that claim, so let's dial it back for the time being, but you have to admit it would be a rather interesting twist. Regardless, this need to explore and discover paints a very interesting picture for the adventure we have in store for us. Our goal may not be so clearly written this time around, but this sense of discovery and exploration will no doubt set the stage nicely for the destinations that lie ahead. The other interesting question we have to ask ourselves links back to whatever the Cabal have done to the Traveller and by extension us. If this is indeed the result of Hive or Vex technology, then perhaps we have a much greater fight ahead of us than we first thought. The initial trailer may have painted a very clear and obvious picture that our target is the Cabal Primus known only as Ghoul, but who is to say that he is not just a messenger for a greater power at play? In Cabal history, all these battles are fronted by these champions while the Empire observes from a distance, but as the New Monarchy agent rightly suggested, there comes a time when even the Empire will need to step up. That is quite possibly one of the most exciting things to think about. In our own Destiny history, the Cabal have never really presented a very real threat. Not when you consider the other forces we've had to deal with along the way. Vex, Hive, even the Fallen. The Cabal have often been present, but never more than a distraction. However, despite that, they still have this reputation for being an immensely capable militaristic empire, something to be feared. So let's hope that Destiny 2 shows us exactly that. So for the time being, that is it. That is the Destiny 2 story as we know it right now. And that is some relevant history that may help explain what caused these events to happen. As and when more information becomes available, I will be sure to keep you guys up to date. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.